Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the LilyGrace Lifestyle Podcast. Today's guest, I'm so excited about. I'm so excited to have her on because she's just so creative and I love her brand that she has created. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on today. So thank you so much for coming on, Anna.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So actually, do you go by Anna Grace or how do you?
I go by Anna. Anna Grace is my middle name.
Okay.
I just thought it rolled off the tongue nicely.
I like it. Yeah, because my
Thank
name's
you.
Lily Grace, so I wasn't sure if the
Oh,
two names go together or not. Mine's together, so
oh,
so
cool.
pretty. Yeah,
That's awesome.
thank you. So a question that I always ask my guests is what defines your lifestyle?
So this is a good question. My lifestyle is just working hard, persevering, manifesting, making it happen, day in, day out, doing your best. I don't really have a lifestyle per se because every day is different, but
Right.
I try to do what I can to work out a lot and drink enough water. I'm not perfect, but I do all that I can to set myself up for success on the regular.
Yes, yeah. No, honestly, I love what you just said because I'm the exact same way. And I feel like it's always kind of like my lifestyle's many different things. It's not just one thing and it's all about kind
Yeah.
of like you said, manifesting, setting yourself up for
Yep.
success for the future. So I absolutely love that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you give us a little intro and a little background? Like where'd you grow up and kind of how'd you get into
Sure.
branding?
So I had a pretty rough go as a child and teenager. I had a pretty tough background. That's a story for another day, but it brought me to where I am today. And it bred a lot of resilience and strength and gratitude and humility. So that's great. But I've been an artist my whole life. So I remember one of the first things I drew was a rose and it came out pretty realistic. And I was like 4 years old.
Wow.
So I've been drawing my whole life. And I remember in high school, there was this guy who worked in the music industry. And he was like, you should be a graphic designer and you should design album covers. And I was like, what's a graphic designer? And I was like, that sounds weird and like technical. And I thought I was too cool for school in high school, naturally. But then I went to beauty school because I loved makeup and makeup artistry, realized that wasn't for me. Um, and I lost my mom when I was 20. So
Oh.
after losing my mother, I kind of got forced out into the real world with a
Mhm.
push. So I was like, you know what? It took me a few years, but I was 23 and I started college and I was like, I'm going to go to school for graphic design. And the rest was history.
Wow, I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. And I feel like a common thing between all the people I talk to that are so passionate about what they do is that they knew when they were young, or they had a
Right.
clue when they were super young from their roots. And like the rose you said, like drawing, it kind of
Yes.
like festers when we're at a young age, and sometimes it gets lost
Yes.
along the way, but then you refine that. So that's
Yes.
amazing.
And I
Um,
feel like a lot of people's passions too can come from going through something hard.
right.
It brings you to a bigger, better, faster, stronger place that makes you stronger and it helps you dive into your passion. Like a lot of the entrepreneurs I know, at least half of them have been through something really hard
Yeah.
that has pushed them to where they are today.
Mhm. Absolutely. That's just so amazing to hear. And where did you go to school or the region if you want to share, but just get out of curiosity.
Went to Dover High School.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where my parents and grandparents grew up, so that's so cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Green
awesome.
wave. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because 'cause I'm from
Interesting
that
days.
area.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, so, and just branding in general, when you started
Yeah.
graphic design, were you like, "Okay, I'm gonna design album covers, I'm gonna be an illustrator," like, did you kinda have an idea, or were you a little like, "I don't know?"
Um, so I wanted to do wedding invitations. That was like the thing. I was like, I'm going to be a stationery artist. That's what I want to do. Um, and I like did all my final projects in school on wedding stationery. And then one of my now work friends slash friends back in the day in like 2018, she asked me to do a guidebook for her for a
Oh.
event called the Seacoast Wellness Series. So that was like a form of stationery, and that kind of helped me because it was also a networking event. So I was going the stationary route for a while and made
Mhm.
connections doing that. And by doing that, I realized that I found a love for type and color and identity. And I with even with invitations, there's identity. So you
Yeah.
pick a color palette, you want a certain vibe. And I realized I liked that a lot more than just designing invitations. And that's
Right.
where I was like, maybe I should get into personal branding so I can create a brand identity for others.
Wow, that's so cool. I love that because I'm kind of all about branding too, and you do such an amazing job. Like your work
Thank
is
you.
absolutely amazing. At the end,
Thanks.
she'll plug herself, everyone, but you'll have to check her out because it's just so beautiful. It's kind of feminine, but it's just so interesting and unique, and I love it.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
yeah, and like being an interior designer, that's what I'm going to school for.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in that design realm as well. We learned like
Yeah.
Illustrator and all those programs.
Yep.
But it's all about creating an overall experience. Do
Right. Yeah.
you agree?
I would say so. Yeah. It's about creating an experience for not only when somebody, like for yourself, but when somebody visits your page, you
Right.
want them to keep scrolling. You don't want them to just look. It only takes a user like 7 seconds to make a decision if they're going to follow you, I think. That
Mm.
might be wrong. So don't quote me, but there's a statistic out there.
Mhm.
Um, so you want it to be appealing. You want them to keep wanting to scroll. So that's where
Definitely.
building an aesthetic is very important.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. And I feel like out of all your clients, what would you say is one like similarity that they all have? Are they all women, kind of like us, or are they all different?
They're definitely all women. um, I think they kind of come to me because my brand is like nude pinks and tan. But yeah, they're all women, stylists, bloggers. Really, I'll do any sort of feminine brand,
I love that. I love
wellness,
that.
all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you were starting your business, like, how did you kind of, like, start to create your portfolio? Or how were you like, "I'm legit," in a sense, you know what I mean?
Oh, I suffer from imposter syndrome, so I'm
Yep.
like never think anything's good enough. But I just kind of built it as I went. I did some work for the New Hampshire Film Festival. I used that for a while.
Wow.
I did some work for Nicole Mower, like I said, the Seacoast Wellness Series. I used that in my portfolio, and I used to just have a portfolio online because I was just applying for 9 to 5s.
Right.
And I actually finally scored one um, last year. I don't even know. This year's been a blur at Cider Mill Press. It's a
Okay.
publishing house, so I was
Yep.
designing children's books and cookbooks.
Oh.
Um, but I got laid off due to COVID.
Mhm.
So that led
Yeah.
me here.
That's awesome, though. It's kind of so cool to see how our journeys take us. And speaking
Yes.
of COVID and 2020, how has that really impacted you as a person and then kinda impacted your business as well?
So I went from portfolio to this to that. Sorry. I'm
No,
like
no, no,
taking you
you're
on a
good.
journey.
I love it. This is the whole point. I love the stories.
All right. So COVID, I was doing okay at Cider Mill. It was my first like 9 to 5 job. I was super
Mhm.
excited about it. And then all of a sudden we just started working from home. And before you knew it, like I was laid off. And it was definitely not fun. And there was a lot
Mhm.
going on. But I feel very grateful that COVID opened more doors for me than closed. And I'm
Yes.
so grateful because I know a lot of people really struggled from this.
Mhm.
Um, but I personally grew my business during COVID. I took it as an opportunity to be like, hey, like I can actually do something with this time. So I started to do
Exactly.
illustrations um, for people. And that's kind of how I got my following actually was through illustrations. I'd reach out to people like influencers and be like, hey, I'll draw you if you post this. And then people just started to come. And then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do branding.
Yeah.
And I took a designer training course as well, which was really helpful.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
So during that
incredible.
COVID time, yeah,
Yeah, and I think in a sense it really sets the creative entrepreneurs apart that have come out of this time of COVID because I feel like when other time in our life do we get the chance to literally just everything be shut down and just sit in our rooms and just do
right.
nothing in a sense. It's like and I love how you said you took it as an opportunity because in a sense I did too because it's like again like such a unique time. So it's kind of
Yeah,
beautiful seeing what can grow out of such as this weird time. So,
right. And I'm like
yeah.
surrounded by entrepreneurs. Like my future sister-in-law opened a salon
Oh
in
my
the middle of the
gosh.
pandemic. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like let's go. Let's
Yeah. No, I love that, and I love how you said surrounded by other people too, because I truly believe, like, if you surround yourself with like negative people or just people that bring you down, like that's how you're gonna feel. Or if you
Right.
surround yourself with other creatives and like you said, like your sister-in-law, that is like a key, I feel like, to
Right.
success. Yeah.
Yes. You got to
Yeah,
surround yourself. You are what you attract, and you are
exactly.
who you hang out with.
Definitely. I'd love to interview her. That sounds so cool.
I'll ask her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd be very excited to help you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Wow. I just love that. And you were saying that you're a full-time student, right?
I
Right
am,
now?
yes.
So,
Yep.
yeah, so how does that kind of affect how your business is? Because I'm the same way right now and it's a whole crazy balance, I feel.
Yeah, it's definitely a very challenging, and it makes me very tired. And it makes I have to sacrifice a lot, but luckily
Yeah.
I have great friends who understand that I can't hang out all the time because I'm trying to build a business, and
Yeah.
I'm getting married next year and all
Ah,
these things, school. But it's a challenge, and I'm not gonna lie, like I don't love it, but I'm almost there. So
good, good. Yeah.
yeah,
That's really sweet. And I can totally relate to you. I feel like it's hard for me to relate to other people maybe who aren't like as busy as me, which is totally fine.
yeah,
But like I like that you said that your friends understand because I think I
yes,
have friends that understand and some that don't, but
right,
that's totally fine. I just feel
right.
like you're right. It's a time of like we are building a business, so it's kind of like our grind sacrifice time.
It's the grind, exactly. And education will never hurt you. That's what my future father-in-law always says too.
I love
Education
that.
will never hurt you.
I
And I'm
love
like,
that.
true, but it hurts my heart a little.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
In my
get
bank
it.
account.
Literally. Literally. I could totally relate to that too. Like I feel like we're the same in that sense. And I'm graduating in August. And then I'll
Oh,
be
nice.
out and I'm actually working in sales with a small business, but I feel like I'll always just have my side hustle no matter what.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you graduate, do you plan to do your hustle like full time or do you think you're gonna supplement it with something else?
I plan to do this full time. I just added web design to my services, which will really help that
Yes.
too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, I mean, I grew up bartending to pay rent. So I've
Mhm.
always been like in charge of my own income until I
Yeah.
got that 9 to 5. So I think I'm just so used to like working hard and working my magic to make money. So I
Yeah,
feel like I would rather just work in my home office, do it my way than
I
work for
love it.
someone else. But that's today. Who knows what will
Right.
happen?
Right. A
But
lot
that's what,
can
yeah,
change. No,
yeah,
I love that too, because I can say a similar thing. Like I used to waitress and work in the food industry, and I feel like that is kind of like running your own business in itself. So then
yeah,
when I went to the 9 to 5, I was like, oh, I don't know. Like
yeah.
this is different. I definitely am the same way. I like creating my own schedule, creating my own life. So can totally relate to you
Yes,
there.
yes. I don't plan on going back to 9 to 5, but
Yeah, yeah. And kind of like what softwares do you use, if you don't mind sharing? And like how'd you get into the web design part of it too?
so I love Adobe Illustrator. That's pretty much all that I use, unless I'm typing up a contract, then I'll do InDesign. Photoshop I'll use to make like my custom GIFs, but it's all designed on Illustrator. That's like the holy grail. Um,
Love it.
so yeah.